Hi, my name is Andrew Marshel, and I'm a storyboard artist at Dreamworks Animation. Thank you guys so much for coming in on a Sunday night. I know it's not a typical time for you guys to meet, so I appreciate you guys taking the time. Yeah, so I've been working at Dreamworks for, including internships, 13 years, coming on 13 years this June. Full time, I've been there since 2009. Uh, and it's been an amazing experience to work there from being an intern and doing production assistant type of work as an intern and learning a lot while I was going to school at the University of Southern California, and I was studying animation there in the film school. I was able to see in real time at a studio at my internship how all the elements of an animation studio work together. So the things I was like hearing about and reading about and seeing in my lectures at school, I was able to see in real life, and it was a very well-rounded education, and I'm really grateful that I had that. And I was able to intern in several different departments at DreamWorks, so I was getting exposed to different parts of the process, and it really helped me understand how it all works together. And then when I graduated in 2008 from college, I wanted to be a story artist immediately, but it's a very competitive uh, job, and you really need to have like your skills up to a high level to be considered. So I started just being a production assistant at DreamWorks. Um, Not just, it's a very important job, but I was a production assistant at DreamWorks starting in 2008, and I kept going on that production track, which is kind of a track to being a producer. So you're in the production management side of things. So you're planning meetings, scheduling the meetings, organizing the materials before meetings, doing cross-site meetings like this, where sometimes we'd have cross-site with, other countries we were working with. So you have to make sure that the sound works. So that was a kind of a flashback to my old job just now with the sound feedback. But that would be my job to figure out how to fix that. So yeah, and then taking notes during meetings, making sure that the artists on your team had everything they needed from whatever materials they needed, or if they needed software installed, or if they're having technical problems, coordinating with the help desk, the information technology group that helps with all the technical difficulties, coordinating with them. So all of that was really it was really beneficial because you work in a group and you're learning how to be diplomatic, and if there's tensions are high and people are working late and it's really stressful, you can come in and you're supposed to be the cheerleader and kind of rooting everyone on and making sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible, and finding problem solving skills. It was really helpful, and you're in meetings with the directors and producers a lot, and sometimes it's just a small room with you, director, producer, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, who is the CEO and one of the founders of the company, and you're there taking notes, and so you're kind of like a fly on the wall. You're not really you're supposed to just be there and be quiet and take notes, but you're learning so much, hearing what they have to say, and they're being very honest in those small rooms. So you get to hear the real story of what they really think, and all of that is really was a great learning experience. And as I was in production, I was still trying to work towards becoming a storyboard artist. So I would draw, on nights and weekends, do my own storyboard sequences, show them to the artists at work, get their feedback, and then really importantly, I think you need to get the feedback from the artist and then actually do the address the notes they give you and then show them again. And that's how you improve. So that's how I was able to really get my skills as a story artist to the level I needed to be at. And it was a lot of work, and it was many years. And I went from being a production assistant to a production coordinator, and then finally a production supervisor on The Boss Baby, which came out last year. And in that movie, I was the production supervisor in the story department. So I was directly working with the story artists, which was a great experience because I'd gotten to know them over the years, but I was finally in their department. So I was with them every single day, and I was processing their story panels, like making sure the story panels are ready to be sent to editorial, because then our editors cut the storyboards together. So I was very like intimately involved with each panel, and I would learn and sort of like absorb it all and see like the type of tricks and things that they would do uh, in their sequences. And I got to know the sequences very, very well because we would be going back and forth a lot. So um, all of that was just, it was almost to me like a graduate school that whole time. And I was taking classes at, there's some art schools in Los Angeles that offer one-off classes, so you don't have to be enrolled in a full program. And that was really great to be able to keep that going, on my own time. And both of the classes that storyboarding classes I took there were being taught by story artists that worked at Dreamworks. So it was great because I already knew them, and so it was like a nice. I would do the assignments that were assigned to me in class, and then I could show them to my teacher at work. So it was all connected, and it was really great. Um, but it was hard to switch from being a production person to an artist because they're two different tracks, and the studios usually like to they want you to be motivated towards whatever track you're on. So they're investing in you to become a producer if you're in the production track, or if you're in the artist track, they're wanting you to work towards getting promoted on that path. So it is a little hard to switch over because people get to know you as one thing, and then it's hard, I think, for them to see you as something different. So it was kind of just trying to convince them. Once I got my skills up to a level that a lot of my mentors thought that I was ready, at that point I think it was a lot of just convincing people to take me seriously. And it wasn't just this dream someday I'll be a story artist kind of a thing, but more them looking at me as this is a potential candidate that really could do this artist job. So um, it was kind of, that was the tightrope walk that I had to do, because you need to be really motivated on your day job and make sure that you get everything done. And it's a very demanding job to be in production because you're running around and every day is different and you're putting out fires, but also making the time to work on my artwork, and but not letting it interfere with the day job. So it was a little bit of, it's a challenging way to go about it, but I think it's happening more and more because a lot of universities are offering animation programs more than ever, and there's a lot of students graduating like yourselves that want to go into animation. And I think studios are starting to change their mind about a little bit about if there's not enough artist jobs at the time, considering people to be production assistants or to go to production management route as a way in. And then it's still, they're valuable employees that are going to be dedicated and working on their day job, but then eventually they might be ready to be an artist. And then the benefit is that they've been trained at that studio and understand the ins and outs of what it is to work at that particular studio. So um, yeah, so I think maybe we could watch. I did a storyboard sequence while I was practicing um, with my mentors recommended that I do a storyboard sequence of my own, that I come up with the idea myself, and then cut it together with an editor. So I was able to make an animatic, which is the story panels cut together with temporary sound and voices and music and all that. So it was a really good experience for me because then I was able to see, because when you're storyboarding your own stuff, you're kind of just like, it's just you yourself, and you're just not, it's all coming from your own brain. So it's good to have another person work with you on it to get another perspective. So it was great to have the editor there to kind of point out things like this might not be working as well. Maybe we need to change this or rearrange this, or we need some more story panels here just to make this funnier. Or and it just also changes the pace of the sequence when you see it cut together and you're not pitching it. So this I think we have the Postmodern Muses video um, pulled up, and I so this was done a couple years ago, and it's just it's it's sort of like a semi-autobiographical sequence where it's sort of how I storyboard. It's my process, which is really just procrastinating and I end up cleaning my apartment and doing all these things instead of drawing. And then I'm visited by my postmodern muses, who you'll see are famous pop stars. And I think we can play it now.
I'm gonna get so much drawing done today. Let's get started. Ooh, wait. I can't get started yet because this Cintiq is filthy. There. Much better. Okay, here we go. I hope you're ready, Cintiq pen, because there's gonna be a whole lot of drawing about to happen. Right after a quick coffee break. Yeah, I need coffee. This can wait. Can't draw without coffee. I mean, I'm barely awake right now.
I don't think so, son. Not while your postmodern muses are around. Come on, Brittany. Let's get this kid drawing.
I'm coming, Nikki. Oh my God. My head is spinning faster than a catfish in a toilet bowl. You okay, Billy Bob?
Get it together. We have work to do. I mean, instead of drawing, this kid is doing laundry.
Poker face. Huh, I wonder what's on TV.
Snooky, wake up! There are major Gorilla Juice head Guidos on the beach.
I'm up.
Classic.
Good morning, Guidos! Hey, where are all the Guidos?
Are you being serious right now? The worst part is he's already seen this one.
Well, I mean, it is a pretty good episode.
Ugh, just be quiet and help me pull this plug.
You're watching the Jersey Shore Marathon.
All day long. What is the matter with this thing?
Okay, one last pull should do it.
Billy Bob, where are you going?
Ah! Huh? Gotcha. Whatever you are. Ah! Wait, are you like some kind of miniature snake or something? Oh my God, are miniature snakes poisonous?
Stop! Oh my God, no, please! Please don't hurt Billy Bob.
What?
I got you, Billy Bob. Mom's here, baby. Don't worry.
Okay, and that's a miniature Britney Spears, right? I'm obviously dreaming right now. I mean, my dreams are pretty vivid.
Oh! This ain't no dream!
Wow!
This is very real, man. Because we're your postmodern muses. And we ain't playing around!
Postmodern music? Ah!
Britt, Billy Bob, quick, grab his feet.
And now, back to Jersey Shore.
Brittany!
Happy hour's almost over. I need to get to the beach. Where's the beach?
It's right there.
Yeah, behind you, dummy. I love this show.
I know, right? Ah! Come on, again? Why is there smoke coming out of my kitchen?
Because I know how to make an entrance. And I also know how to get things done.
Rihanna?
Look, you don't make 7 albums in 7 years by watching Jersey Shore.
I know that. I was just about to get to drawing, I swear.
Sure you were. That's what we're here for, to inspire you, to motivate.
Gaga!
Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, duh. Anyways, Andrew, all you need to do is let go and expose yourself as an artist.
You are so right, Gaga.
Just be free.
Gaga, put some damn clothes on.
I'm trying. Does anyone have a butcher knife?
Oh, we don't got time for meat dress carving. Little help here, B?
Oh, wait. B? As in Ansei? on, you're irreplaceable!
Hold up. What do you think you're doing?
Harmonizing?
We have been sent down from the heavens to help you create, baby. And that's just what you're gonna do. Right now.
What? Whoa! Hey!
You wanna hop me? You better work, bitch.
Say what now?
Oh, well, look who made the desktop. I got this, ladies.
Now get to work, bitch.
Andrew Arthur Marshel!
Yes, Stephanie, Joanne, Angelina, Lady Gaga, Germanata?
Are you ready to explore your imagination and make some art about it?
So ready?
Well then, what are you waiting for? Yeah, just do it already.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I am so pumped. What should I draw, though?
Oh,
yeah.
I
Oh.
caught up in the rest of it, so I don't.
Oh, I don't know. How about us?
Oh, that's a great idea. That's nice. Sound off!
Beyonce.
I am Nicki Minaj.
Huh? Oh my god. I'm sorry. Could you run it again? I forgot to move my lips that time.
Girls, you've done it again. I gotta board this. So I did.
I was born this way. Hey.
Okay, awesome. That was the postmodern muses. I wish that's really what happens in my real life, but sometimes it feels that way late at night when you're working and sleep deprived. Sometimes I maybe hallucinate Beyonce appearing to me. But yeah, so that was something I did a couple years ago, and it was a really great experience because it was up until that point I had done a lot of sequences that were based on existing things. Like I had done a sequence based on Monsters vs. Aliens, which was a movie that Dreamworks had made a couple years ago, and Peter Ramsey, who was the head of story on that movie and directed Rise of the Guardians, which I worked on Rise of the Guardians as a coordinator. So he was one of my mentors, and he recommended that I storyboard something from an old version of the script for Monsters vs. Aliens, a sequence that either was cut out of the movie or was changed dramatically. So I was able to it was a good exercise to figure out how to make it work, because if it was cut out of the movie, there was something wrong, or it just wasn't fitting. So the challenge for me was to figure out a way to make it come together as a sequence, and that was a really good experience. But then after that, a lot of my mentors wanted me to do something of my own, because a lot of what storyboarding is if you have a strong story team, each person is bringing their own unique voice to the table. So you have, when you're brainstorming with each other, everyone has a different perspective, and it kind of comes together hopefully in a harmonious way, and you kind of have someone who's really strong at comedy, someone who's really strong at character interaction and relationships, and someone who's good at action sequences, and you kind of it builds like a balance to make the whole movie work. But it needs to be, when the movie's all put together, it should feel cohesive. So the head of story and the director try to get all these different voices together, but when they're cut in the movie, it should feel like one cohesive voice. So it's a fun challenge to work on a team of story artists, and kind of you can see people's voice in their work. Not only their drawing style, like you can tell, oh, that's someone drew that, or this person drew that, because of their, you can just tell with how they, their penmanship and all that. But also just the types of jokes they put in, or you can kind of feel their presence in it, which is cool. So then after that, I took a class taught by Tron Mai, who is now the head of story on How to Train Your Dragon 3. And he's an extremely talented storyboard artist. He won an Annie Award for How to Train Your Dragon 2. And I learned a lot from his class. It was a boot camp. It was very intense, but it was a great way to really hone in your skills. So this sequence I did for his class, and I'm going to pitch it to you guys now. So you saw an Animatic, with all the voices cut together, and now I'm going to pitch and attempt to do all the voices myself, which is part of the job. And it's one of the funnest parts of the job too, for me. So this sequence I started, it's all boarded out, but it's like a time capsule, because after I had finished the first pass of the sequence, I moved on to other things, and then I got my storyboard revisionist job finally at DreamWorks Television. So that kind of like swept me away, and I didn't have time to fully finish this sequence the way I wanted it to be. But most of it is cleaned up and finished, and then some of it is rough, but the whole story is there. So so some of the panels will be rough, but hopefully clear. But you guys can see like what the difference between my roughs versus my clean panels, hopefully. So I'll start. Let's see if I just click. I'm gonna start. This is like a tiki garden full of tikis, and the camera goes in. The ancient Hawaiian tiki garden. Only the most magnificent gods and goddesses are worshipped here. I am Haulili. The torch comes on. God of speech and the divine voice of ancient Hawaii. Throughout the centuries, I have seen many great gods and heroes inducted into these mystical tiki gardens. Maui, mover of islands. Cain, creator of worlds, father of the second generation of gods. His brother Lono, god of rain. Pele, rageful goddess of volcanoes. If Pele is mad, no amount of worship or praise can calm her temper. And then this volcano starts erupting. A piece of lava rock falls. When Pele is angry, she makes it known. The lava rock's plummeting towards Earth. There's these fire dancers. This is a rough panel, by the way. They're dancing, and then the lava rock falls in this hut over there. Okay, I'm up next. This fire dancer's about to get up. Light me. And then one of the sparks comes on. Thanks. But I didn't. Ooh, huh? He looks up, sees lava rock. Oh no, that's not good. The effects of Pele's fury may start small, but in no time at all they will simmer and grow. The only hope lies in the hands of a god or goddess who can match her power. Let's get the fire spreading. If that fire spreads to the forest, heaven help us. Did someone ask for some heavenly help? They look up to the sky. Oh, heavenly choir. This cloud starts flying over. Have no fear, mortal citizens. I will put out that fire, for I hold the power of heaven in my hands. Wow! I've never seen this goddess before. Behold, the awesome power of the skies. The cloud starts swirling. I think she's gonna make it rain. Is this working? She peeks. One little drop comes down. Wait, you are a goddess, right? Yeah. I mean, yes, of course. I am Lillinois, the goddess of... What was that last part? I don't know. The flames get even bigger. Oh, run! You start running. Oh, geez. Okay, there's gotta be something around here to... That's it! Ah, they're all scared. Clear the way, everybody. I got a palm fronds. Move, people. She lands on the table. Man, I really thought I could make it rain that time. She's, okay, now for that. Come on, palm fronds, do your thing. The fire goes out. Oh, well, that was easy. The fire is even worse now. Oh, God, it starts spreading to the palm trees. Oh, no! What have I done? These people are throwing water. Good thinking, my friend. She jumps off. They're pumping water. She grabs a bucket. Wait, that's not... She runs towards the hut, throws the water, comes back. Ah! Pig grease. Oh, no. I'm the most useless goddess ever. But I thought you said you were the goddess of... Wait, what did she say she was the goddess of? Well, actually, thunder, lightning. Hey, look! It's Lono! Lono's in the clouds. He gathers the cloud swirling, covers the whole village. It starts raining. Yay! Putting out the fire. It's just like, okay, gotta go, bye. And then Lono lands all heroically. Yay! Everyone's cheering. Lono, Lono. Hey, give it up for Lono, am I right? Wish I could stay. Excuse me, I just need to get through. Hey, what gives? Lillinois! Lono's not happy. Stay right where you are. Yes, Master Lono? Lono comes charging towards her. I've been mentoring you for how many centuries now, and it's like you haven't learned a thing. Lono is mentoring her? Yikes. Shh, he makes like a rain curtain for privacy. I was only trying to help. You may have been born a goddess, but I am beginning to think you don't actually have what it takes to be one. I know I can be one. Of what? Light rain? Lillinois, you're 824 years old, and you still don't know what you're the goddess of. Maybe it's time to give up. Shh! Fear not, citizens. Everything is under control. Yay! Lono, Lono. She's all by herself. Alas, not all gods and goddesses will reach the level of greatness that it takes to be inducted into these hallowed tiki gardens. Only the best. Huh? Here's a thud. What? Shh. Illinois is sneaking through the tiki garden. She sees an open pedestal and she puts her own tiki that she made herself. And that's it. That's Illinois. So the assignment was to do an introduction to a character, and Tron wanted us to adapt it from something. So it's something, it could be anything. It could be based on a song, a fairy tale, a book, mythology. So for me, I really have always been interested in Hawaiian, Polynesian mythology, gods and goddesses, and all that kind of thing. So I was researching different gods and goddesses, and I wanted to do a lesser known one. So Lillinois is actually a goddess in Polynesian mythology, and she's the goddess of light rain, which when I read that, I thought, why would we need that? Why would we need a goddess of light rain? It just seemed strange. I mean, I think it's light rain or mist, but still, it seemed a little like if you were a god or goddess, that's kind of like the last thing you'd want to be a god of. So I wanted to have fun with that, and she's feeling like she's inadequate or she's not delivering her full potential. But if this were a movie, I think she would go on to discover that light rain is something important that is needed in the world, and she finds a way to like use her power in a helpful way. But this is near the beginning of the story, so she's just dealing with her mentor Lono, who's the god of full rain and can make it, thunder, lightning, the full storm. And he's kind of training her to be just like him instead of listening to what her strengths are, which I think is a common dynamic sometimes with mentor-student figure type of stories or situations, is that the teacher or the mentor is trying to make the student just like them instead of teaching them, like adapting the teaching style to the student, to what they need or what their strengths are. So that's kind of how I took it. Yeah, and so I did that sequence, and like I said, after this, I very thankfully was able to get a job as a storyboard revisionist at Dreamworks Television, and I worked on the TV show Dawn of the Croods, which is on Netflix. And after that, I went on to be a storyboard artist on a TV show called Harvey Street Kids, which is what I'm currently working on. And that's supposed to come out later this year on Netflix. And it's really funny, and I'm very excited to share stuff from it. But unfortunately, I can't yet because we haven't released anything. So, but it's hopefully soon we'll be able to share some artwork from it, and then some episodes will be on Netflix soon. So, Great. So I think that's the quick summary of my last 10 years of my life. If you guys have any questions, it might be a good time to do that. Oh, your dad is watching. I'm glad he enjoyed it. So I'm going to look at the chat, I think, for um, the questions. Okay, so the question from Dylan. How much time did you spend on these animatics? Well, it's kind of, it varies because it wasn't like I was full-time working on them. It was kind of when in between my full-time job on nights and weekends, so it's sort of spread out. But it took a couple months for me to finish them, and then I would stop for a bit. Like the Muses one, I storyboarded it throughout a couple months on on my off time from work, and then a couple months later, one of my mentors suggested that I cut it with an editor to make the animatic. So then the animatic was a couple months for that, because then it was also not just my spare time, but then the editor's spare time, which he was very generous and super cool to take the time out from his schedule to after work to cut it with me. So it was sort of like off and on. Um, but right now that I'm doing the storyboarding as my job, thank God, full time, I can focus completely on it. I get 6 weeks to storyboard an entire episode, and our episodes are 11 minutes, so it's a lot of work. But it's really great because I'm learning a lot very quickly, because you have to just keep going really fast. And so I have 4 weeks to storyboard the entire episode. We get a script. The whole episode's written by our writing staff, and then I storyboard from the script. I pitch it 4 weeks later as a rough pitch. So it's sort of like just to get it out there and show the executive producers and the supervising producer the whole episode just roughed out, and then I get their notes, and then 2 weeks later I storyboard. I clean up and address their notes, and then I do a clean pitch, which is the final pitch, and then after I do that, I move on to the next episode. So TV is very fast, but it's a really great way to hone in your skills quickly. Oh right, Mateus is saying that I should. There was a part where I wanted to share my screen about my Photoshop. Just like how I set up my files. So I think if I share this, okay. Oh, there. Okay. Let's see. So I'm just going to open up from that little noise sequence, and this is from a couple years ago. So it's right now I'm using Storyboard Pro at work. So that I'm really familiar with that software, and I've kind of figured out my process there. So this is my process for Photoshop circa 2014. So I do want to practice more with Photoshop again. Let's see. Yeah, it's very old. So yeah, let's see. This Photoshop is from 2008 when I was going to school, and I just kept it. So thankfully at work I have like the latest version of Photoshop. It's CS3. Yeah, I know it's a blast from the past, but it still works. So this is one shot. So I do a PSD for each shot, and then if you see here the layers, each layer is a panel, so I can click, and it cuts through, and I try to make the layers ascending order so that when I click it off, it looks like it's going to look when I'm pitching it. And then if I open the layers here, you can see that close this. There's the layer for the dialogue box here. And then I use a lot of layers because I like to have the option of, clicking, I don't need the fire anymore, I don't need the smoke. It's just sort of, you have more control over it, but sometimes it does get to be a lot of layers. At work now, I've been trying, because it's interesting now that, when I'm working as a team now on these episodes, when I'm done with it, with the episode, then it's passed on to the revisionist and the director and the editor. So there's all these different people that need to work with this file that I'm creating. So I've been learning how to be more like, I'm labeling my layers more. I'm trying to reduce the amount of layers that I have just to make it clear when I pass it off to the next person that it's not like a mess of different layers. So a lot of the job is just being aware of everyone else that's going to need to touch this episode after you. So yeah, it's been a good experience. So that's how I do my Photoshop files. Some people use layer groups, which I think gets really, for me, just gets kind of confusing. But honestly, I think Storyboard Pro is a really great software as well because it's designed specifically for storyboarding. So it has like a timeline at the bottom of the screen, and you can kind of like keep track of all your panels that way. But let's see if there's any more questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see more of the chat. Okay, let me go back up a little bit. Let's see. What caused your mentors to realize you transitioned from apprentice to worthy story artist? Well, I guess we really have to ask them, but I hope it's because I showed them that I was, I think over the years I really, I was just trying to grow and learn from them so much, and I really tried to keep them in the loop and check in with them a lot to show them that I was growing and they could see the progression over the years. So it was like really encouraging when multiple mentors of mine were saying, I think you're ready now. And it was like they're all kind of doing it, they're all saying that kind of independently from each other. So it seems like it was finally coming together, and I felt like I was getting more comfortable and faster with my skills. And so it's just sort of like the planets aligned, it was great. It took a lot of work and time, but it was very validating when these mentors of mine that I respect so much and have learned so much from were finally like, we all kind of had established like this trusting relationship, and so I knew that they were going to be honest with me, and they were honest with me, very honest with me over the years. If they didn't, they thought I needed to work on something, they would tell me the truth, because they thought it's not going to be helpful to Andrew if he doesn't hear what he really needs to work on. And there are times where I really had to, buckle down and get better at perspective and get better at my draftsmanship. And I'm still, you're always learning and working towards that. But it was really, I appreciated so much that they took the time and they invested in me and encouraged me over the years. And so I really wanted to show them that I was ready. So that was a good motivation for me. Let's see. What makes a good animatic? It's really just the animatic and the storyboarding process itself and the animation, all the different departments for a TV show or a movie, I think just need to always go back to what's the best for the story, the service of the story. So, it should always feel like if the story you're making is a comedy, then it should be fast paced. It should hit the jokes. Are you like, is the pace of the animatic hitting all of the gags to make them the funniest they can be? And it's all about timing. So it's like, sometimes it's like 2 frames are the difference between making something funny and really funny, or falling flat and not getting a laugh at all. So that's kind of, for animatics, it's a lot about the pace and the timing. So I try to think about that when I'm storyboarding, because I know that the editor will take it, and you might, you want to be as specific as possible about what your intention is. Um, so, yeah, so let's see. What do you do when you hit a writer's creative block? I used to do a lot of what I did in the Muse video. A lot of it was, the first part of that video is very true, of cleaning my apartment and watching Jersey Shore and just procrastinating, which isn't very helpful. Um, but the I think I've seen, the more I do it, and now that I'm doing it as my job, like I have to do it. I can't be like putting it off. I mean, there's a little bit of procrastination still, but at the beginning of an episode, a lot of that seems like you're procrastinating is you thinking about it, and I'm always kind of like, the minute you read the script for the episode, your brain starts to think about, like, envisioning what the episode could be like, and thinking about joke ideas or staging, and then so you're by the time I'm gonna thumbnail, I've already thought about it a lot, so it kind of flows more. And I like to thumbnail with paper and pen, which is very old school, but I think using paper and pen is more, um, it's like less restrictive than working on this Cintiq and in the computer for me personally, because when I start working on the computer, it feels more final, and there's a temptation to do Control Z and to zoom in and sort of like noodle drawings, and on a piece of paper, it's like it has to be this small little thumbnail, so you're forced to just really think about the composition and the staging and clarity, which I think is one of the most important parts of storyboarding, is clarity, where are the characters in relation to each other, and staging, cinematography of it, of what's the best staging for this particular part of the sequence to make the story progress, and to make sure that the audience is with the characters as much as possible and with their emotional journey. So that with paper and pen, that just really helps. And using paper and pen to thumbnail has helped me push through the writer's block, because it's there's no pressure, there's less pressure on it, because it's only going to be seen by me really, and maybe my director. So it doesn't have to be really rough, just super sketchy drawings, and it's just to get the idea out there. And that helps me push through the initial, because every time you start an episode, you're like, oh my God, it's like running a marathon. Every episode's a marathon, and you cross the finish line for one episode, and then the next day or the same day, you get launched on the next marathon, and you're like, okay, here we go. So it can be a little daunting every time you start. You're thinking, I need to storyboard another 11-minute episode right away, but that thumbnailing on paper helps me to just sort of get right into it. And one of my mentors, Walt Dorn, who directed Trolls, the movie Trolls, is such a talented artist and a hilarious guy. And one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me was, he said, the minute you start a sequence, just start drawing. Don't even, just start drawing, because you can get kind of hung up in thinking about things. It could be this, it could be that. But when you actually start to thumbnail it and draw it out, it just leads you down paths that you wouldn't have expected, because you're visualizing it, you're doing it. And a lot of issues you wouldn't think about just by like being in your head, when you're drawing it, you start to notice, okay, wait a minute, if this character needs to be, like later in this scene, the character has to be over here talking to this other character, instead of having him start over on the other side of the room and he has to cross all the way over to talk to that other guy, why don't you just put him closer to the other guy at the beginning of the scene? Like that kind of problem solving, you don't really get that until you start drawing it. So he's just like, even if it's just sketching out, not like an actual panel, but just what a character could look like, or you have an idea for a joke, you're not really sure how you're going to stage it, but you just write it down or do a little couple sketches representing what you think that joke could be or that moment could be. It just sort of gets you to visualize it and get your creative juices flowing better. So that was really good advice for me. see. Another question. How are we doing on time? Okay, 2 more questions. That's good. Yeah, that sounds good to me. So I'll do 2 more questions. Let's see. Um, let's see. What software do you use to create animatics or animations? Well, right now um, I'm just doing the storyboard, so I'm storyboarding with Storyboard Pro, which is a Toon Boom software. And then the editors at Dreamworks Television use Adobe Premiere. And then the editors at Feature use Avid. I'm not quite sure why the decision making behind which software the editors use, but the editors have told me that it's pretty much the same experience for them with Avid versus Premiere. But when I was at the movie division, like on Boss Baby, I would be the one to primarily send down the story panels from when the artists were done with their sequence. I would process their panels, so I would put them in a software called Flix, and then Flix was like a way to load up all their panels. We made sure that all the dialogue was underneath the correct panels. We'd make a flip book, so we'd print out the each panel and put it in a binder so the editor could have it as a reference. And then we would send down through Flix, we would send the panels down to the assistant editors, and the assistant editors would import the panels into Avid, into bins for them, the editors, to cut from. And then at television, I think it's a similar process, but we send the storyboard files to the editors and the assistant editors, and then they take the panels from Storyboard Pro into Premiere. So it's kind of a similar process, but I think maybe Premiere is more compatible with Storyboard Pro, but don't quote me on that because I'm not sure if that's why. But who do you do a good pitch? I'm not sure. I think just about pitching, I think that everyone pitches differently. Some people are really shy and they don't enjoy pitching. It's like their least favorite part. I really like it a lot, but I think it's just fun to do the different voices and keep you're like live editing the sequence yourself because you're controlling how fast you're going. So if you want to like pause on something, you can stop clicking the arrows, and you kind of can sense. It's a good experience also to hear the audience, like the group. If they're laughing at something, you're like, oh, I can hold on that longer. Or if they're not laughing at something and you realize that joke maybe isn't working and you need to change it, like it's a good way to workshop your sequence and see what needs to be changed maybe. Yeah. Oh, I should scroll down. There we go. There's more questions. Have you ever considered voice acting? Yes, I would someday maybe like to do voice acting. Just kind of like, I always have this dream of, Brad Bird or Walt Dorn. Walt Dorn was the head of story on Shrek 4, and he did the temporary, we call it scratch voices. So it's like before we get the actors, the professional actors to come in to record the voices, we're quickly cutting together the sequences to see if they're working. So we have usually employees come in and just do temporary voices. And with Walt, he did the temporary voice for Rumpelstiltskin in that movie, and he was so funny and everyone loved it so much that they decided to just keep him in the movie. So that's kind of a dream of mine. Maybe someday I'll be doing the scratch voice of a character, and then they'll be like, let's just keep Andrew in there, and then who knows. But it would be fun. I mean, I really do enjoy doing the different voices, and I think it helps in the pitch too, because then you are clear about who's talking, because it's all your voice. So it's like anything you can do to make it clear if there's 2 characters on screen, who's the one that has the dialogue. let's see. What part of the body do you find particularly tricky to draw? I think the hands are really hard, but you definitely the hands and the eyes are like the most important part of the acting usually. So now that I'm storyboarding every day, like I really have been trying to work on my hand poses and doing. It's always hard to find unique hand poses because like the show that I'm on right now, like my bosses are very much like, don't do this. I have an idea, like finger pointing up, because that's such an unnatural, like people don't really do that in real life. So it's trying to figure out, unique hand poses and stuff like that, because it really adds a lot to your character's acting. Um, yeah, so I think we were gonna wrap it up now. But thank you guys so much for taking the time out on your Sunday night to see a little bit of my experiences, in storyboarding, and I really hope you guys um, keep pursuing your passion and you find the department that you really want to work in and just go all in because it's a really fun, rewarding career to have in animation. So it's exciting.